and rich.
Perhaps they're waiting for me to call one of them.
No. Why not? Mutual no acquaintance.
Perhaps that is why they have not come.
Was you bored before they came?
You will be so very sorry when I fall out of this tree. That's it. Steady.
I am. Can you forgive poor Earnshaw?
What happened the other day?
Nothing much. You just cold, Cat.
Yes.
Let me make you a fire.
His face has made acquaintance with the parlour floor again. It did not go well with De Linton after all.
In the cold and quiet countryside of England, there is an old house called Wuthering Heights. It stands alone on the wild moors where strong winds always blow and the weather is often dark and stormy. The house feels lonely and a little frightening, and the people living there are not very warm or happy. The owner of the house is a man named Mr. Earnshaw. One day he returned home from a trip to L- Liverpool, but instead of bringing gift, he brings a young poor boy with him. The boy looks dirty, tired, and silent, as if he has suffered a lot in his life. No one knows how he really is or where he comes from. Mr. Earnshaw say he found the boy alone on the street and decided to take him home. He gives the boy he gives the boy a name, Heathcliff, and tells his family that boy will now live with her. The story will continue with multiple interesting facts. Heathcliff now tells his family that the boy will now live with him. At first, the children in the house, especially Kathy, feels confused and unsure about him. Heathcliff does not speak much and he seemed different from everyone else. However, as the time passes, Kathy begins to feel close to him. She talks to him, play with him, and slowly they become good friends. They spend most of their time together running across the open fields, enjoying the freedom of the wild land around them. Their bonds become very strong, stronger than normal friendship, and they start to depend on each other for comfort and happiness. Inside the house, things are not peaceful. Mr. Ansha behave change over the time. He begins to drink too much and become angry and careless. The house starts to lose its worth and become a place of tension and sadness. Heathcliff suffer the most during this time. He is often treated badly and sometimes punished without reason. He is seen as a outside and not as a true member of the family. Even thought he is hurt, he says quiet and keep his feeling inside. Kath noticed his pain and always try to support him. She defends him and stand by his side no matter what happens. One day, Kathy and Heathcliff go out to explore the moors and return home very late. Mr. Earnshaw becomes very angry and demands an explain demands an explanation before Kathy can speak. Heathcliff takes all the blame on himself. He is punished harshly, badly, but he does not complain because he wants to protect Kathy. This moment show how deep their connection has become. Kathy feels very sad and realizes how important health health cafe is to her. As the grow older, the friendship become even stronger and more emotional. It is no longer just friendship, but sometimes something that feel like love. However, there is no problem growing quietly in the background. Kathy belongs to a higher social class and dramas of better life. While Heathcliff is seen as poor and lower in status, this difference slowly creates tension between them. Heathcliff becomes more silent and serious, while Kathy begins to think about her future and her place in society. Even thought they care deeply for each other, they do not understand what their love will soon bring pain, separation, and this is how their story begins. Is a lonely house on the morass where love and suffering grow side by side. As Kathy and Heathcliff grown older, their childhood friendship slowly changed into something deeper and more emotional. But at the same time, their lives began to move in different direction. Wuthering Heights is no Wuthering Heights is no longer a place of simple childhood memories. It has become a house where a house full of tension. It becomes where a house of full of tension, silence, and unspoken feelings. Kathy is no longer just a wild, free girl running across the moors. She begins to think about her future and position in society and the kind of life she wants to live. He, she still loves health cafe deeply, but she always starts to understand that the world outside Wuthering Heights is very different and it judges people based on wealth, family, and social status. Heathcliff, and on the other hand, become more quiet and serious. The pain is experienced as a child has made him stronger, but also harder. He does not express his emotions easily, but inside he feels everything very deeply, especially his own love for Kathy. He knows that she is the most important person in his life, but he always feel unsure because he is poor and has no name of background. This difference between them slowly creates a silence distant. Even thought they will spend time together and care for each other more than anyone else in the world. One day something happened that begins to change everything. Kathy and Heathcliff drive by seriously drive by seriously and their adventurous nature decide to visit their neighbors, the wealthy Litton family who live in a beautiful and elegant house called Thrushcross Gring. Unlike Wuthering Heights, the house is warm, bright, and full of comfort. It represents a completely different world, a world of wealth, manners, and high society. When Kathy and Heathcliff secretly watch the Lytton's thought of wind, they see a life that is very different from their home. The Lytton children, Adair and Isabels, are dressed in fine cloth and behave in a polite and gentle manner. At first, Kathy laugh at them, finding their behavior strange or soft. But at the but at the same time, she is always impressed by their lifestyle. He, Heathcliff, however, feels uncomfortable and angry. He feels that this world does not accept him and never will. They, while they are watching, they are discovered, and it is confused. Kathy gets injured. She hurts her ankle, and is taken into the Lytton house to recover. This moment becomes very important because it separates Kathy and Heathcliff for the first time in a meaningful way. Kathy says at the Thras Cross Granary house from the several weeks. During this time, she began to change. She is triggered kindly, disrupted, and beautiful cloth, and taught to behave like a lady. She starts to enjoy the comfort and attention receives. Slowly, she begins to adapt to his new lifestyle, and her wild, free nature become often and more controlled. Meanwhile, Heathcliff is left behind at man, Meanwhile, Heathcliff is left behind at Wuthering Heights, feeling lonely and dangerous situation with Mr. Earnshaw. He misses Kathy deeply, and but he also feels hurt that she seems to be changing and becoming part of a world that does not include him. When Kathy finally returned to Wuthering Heights, she is no longer the same girl. She looks different, speaks differently, and behaves more politically. Heathcliff immediately noticed this change, and it creates a painful distance between them. Kathy is still happy to see him, but she always starts to feel embarrassed by his rough appearance and behavior. Heathcliff sees this and feels deeply hurt, even though he does not say much. At the same time, Lytton begins to visit Kathy more often. He is gentle, kind, and well mannered. Everything the society considered ideal. Kathy enjoys his company, and he is quickly develops feeling for her. Heathcliff watches all of this silence, this jealousy growing stronger every day. Kathy finds herself in a difficult situation. She loves Heathcliff in a deep and natural way, but she always see Edgar as a change for a better life. Edgar represents comfort, respect, and security, things that Wuthering Heights cannot offer. Kathy begins to think that if she marries if she marries Adair, she can help Heathcliff rise in society and give him a better life as well. However, he does not fully understand how painful this idea is for Heathcliff. To him, love is not about social status and adventure. For him, Kathy is everything, and the thought of her choosing someone else feels like more dangerous and heartbreaking for Heathcliff. One evening Kathy speaks to Neela, the house servant, about her feeling. She admits that she loves Heathcliff deeply, saying that her connection with him in some things that cannot be explained. She feels that they are the same soul and that being separate from him would be like losing a part of herself. However, she always says that she cannot marry him because it would lower and her social position. She behaves that marrying Adair is the right decision for her future. Un- unfor- Unfortunately, Heathcliff overhears part of the conversation, but not all of it. He hears Kathy say that marrying him would degrade her, but he does not hear her confession of love. This misunderstanding become a turning point in the story. Feeling heartbroken and dangerous heartbreak, Heathcliff decides to leave Wuthering Heights. He leaves without saying goodbye, disappearing into the night. Kathy has no idea that he heard her words. Kathy has no idea that he heard her words, and when she realizes he is gone, she is dis- devastated, and she searches for him and refuses to believe that he has left her. She becomes emotionally unstable, unable to accept his unable to accept his absence. However, health Cleffy does not return. Time passes and Kathy is forced to accept reality. She actually agrees to marry Adair Litton. Their marriage brings her into a life of comfort and luxury of the house, but deposit everything. She is not truly happy. She misses Heathcliff deeply and often thinks about him. The love she feels for him does not disappear, no matter how much she tries to move forward. Meanwhile, Heathcliff is gone, but this absence is not the end of the story. Instead, it marks the beginning of the transformation. The pain he feels for Kathy words, and this love for her slowly turn into a something darker. His love does not fade, it becomes stronger but also more dangerous. The boy who once suffered quietly is now filled with the desire to prove himself and to take revenge on these who hurt him. This part of the story show how love when mixed with pride, misunderstanding, and social pressure can lead to heartbreak and separation. Kathy and Heathcliff both love each other deeply, but their choice and the world around them push them apart. Their bond, once poor and simple, now is complicated and painful. And this is only the beginning of the story that will unfold as their love story moves from passion and longing to revenge, loss, and destruction. Destruction. After many years of silence and absence, when almost everything has accepted that Heathcliff will never return, something unaccepted happened that changed their lives of everyone at changed the life of everyone at Threscross, Gringer, and Wuthering Heights. One evening, without warning, Heathcliff comes back, but she is no longer the poor quiet and mistracked boy who once left in pain. He has changed completely. He is now a well dressed, confident, and wealthy man. No one knows exactly where he is. No one has exactly he is the health come back, but he is no longer the poor, quiet, and mistructured boy who once left in pain. He has changed completely now. He is well dressed, confident, and wealthy man. No one knows actually where he has been or how earned his money, but it is clear that he has gained power, status, and influence. His appearance is stronger, his voice is clamor, and his presence is more intense than before. However, inside him, the pain of the past is still alive, and it has turned into something darker, a deep of control and revenge. When Heathcliff arrives at the Threscross Range, Kathy is shocked and overwhelmed with emotions. For years, she has lived with the money of him. She has lived with the memory of him, feeling both love and regret. Seeing him again brings all these feelings back at once. Back at once. She is happy, excited, and emotional, but also nervous because she knows her life has changed. She is now married to Adair Litton, living a comfortable and respected life. Adair, on the other hand, is not pleased to see Heathcliff. He recognizes him as a man for Cathy past and sees that his return will bring trouble. Adair tries to remain polite and discomfort and this discomfort is clear. Wealth Claffy behaves in a calm and controlled manner, but there is a something cold in the attitude. He speaks politically, yet his words often carry hidden meaning. It becomes clear that he is not returned just to renew routine with older friends. He has a purpose. He begins to spend more time and around both houses, visiting frequently and slowly become part of their lives again. Kathy cannot say stay away from him. She feels drawn to him in a way she cannot control. Even though she is married, her emotions connection with Heathcliff remains strong, and it quickly become closer and it quickly become clear that their bond has never truly broken. As Heathcliff spends more time with Kathy, their relationship become intense again. They talk, agrues, remembering the past and sharing moment filled with emotions. Their connection is powerful but also destructive. Adair begins to notice this and become inscarcely uncomfortable. Adair begins to notice this and become uncomfortable. He does not understand the deep of their bond, but now it is dangerous. He tried to limit their connect, but Kathy refused to silence. She insists that Heathcliff is an important part of her life and cannot simply be removed. At the same time, Heathcliff began to reveal his true intentions. Thought not directly, he forms a stronger connection with Isabella Litton, Adair's younger sister. Isabella is naive, emotionally, and easily influenced. She become by Heathcliff's dark personality and mysterious past. She sees him as exciting and different from the poet when she is used to. Heathcliff notices this and begins to use it to his advantage. He shows her attention not out of love but as a part of the plan to hurt Adair and Cathy. Kathy quickly realized that Isabel is developing feeling for Heathcliff. She became angry and tried to warn her, telling her that Heathcliff is not the kind of man she believes him to be. She explained that he is driven by pain and revenge, not love. However, Isabel refused to silence. She believes that Kathy is jealous and does not her to be happy. This creates tension between the two women and adds more complexity to the situation. Meanwhile, Heathcliff continues to manipulate the situation carefully. He pretends to show interest in Isabella, knowing that it will hurt Kathy and disturb Ada. At the same time, he maintains his intention emotional connection with Kathy. This creates a complicated and painful love where no one is truly happy. Kathy feels torn between her husband and her true love. Ada feels Adder feels threatened and powerless. Isabel becomes blindly devoted to a man who does not truly care of him, and Heathcliff deposit beginning control. His control is still driven by unresolved pain. As emotion grows stronger, conflicts begin to explode. Edgar finally confronts Heathcliff demands that he stay away from his wife. Heathcliff refuses to be controlled and responds with cold defense. Kathy becomes angry at the both of them feel trapped between two opposing forces. Her emotional status becomes unstable and her emotional status become unstable as she struggled to deal with her feelings. She cannot let go of Heathcliff, but she always cannot fully live her life with Edgar. During this time, Heathcliff makes a bold and shocking decision. He decides to marry Isabella. However, this reason are not based on love or affection. He openly admits that he wants to use her as a tool to make revenge on Edgar and take to marry Kathy jealousy. Take to take to and to make Kathy jealousy deposit. Knowing this true intention, Isabella still draw to him and agree to marry him. This decision shocks everyone, especially Kathy, who feels betrayed and hurt. After the marriage, Heathcliff takes Isabella to Wuthering Heights, where her life quietly becomes miserable. The comfortable and gentle world she once knew is gone. Instead, she is treated harshly and without respect. Heathcliff does not show her kindness or love. He tries he treats her more like a possession than a partner. Isabel begins to realize the truth about him, but it is too late. She is trapped in a situation she cannot easily escape. Back on the other house, Kathy condition begins to dangerous. The stress, emotional conflict, and the heartbreaking take a serious toll on her health. She becomes weak, anxious, and mentally unstable. She struggles to find peace and begins to feel as if her life is falling apart. Her love for Heathcliff and her marriage to Edgar create a consist inner battle then she cannot resolve. Heathcliff deposed everything still feel deeply connected to Kathy. His love for her has not disappeared but it has become mixed with anger and pain. He blames for her has he blames her for his suffering yet he cannot stay away from her. This contradiction makes his behavior unpredictable and sometimes cruel. As the time passes, it becomes clear that no one is truly winning in the situation. Heathcliff has gained wealth and power, but he is not happy. Kathy has the life she once wanted, but she feels empty and broken. Edgar tries to maintain control, but he is losing the emotional connection with his wife. Isabella is trapped in a loveless and painful marriage. The story becomes darker and more intense as the consequences of the past choices begin to unfold. Love has turned into a obsession, and relationships have become sources of pain instead of comfort. Each character is moving closer to a triggers outcome driven by emotions they cannot control. This part of the story show how health cafe return changes everything. This presence brings back old feeling but also create new tension. Instead of healing the past, it makes everything wrong. The love that once connected him and Kathy now become the cause of suffering for everyone around them. And as the story continues, the situation will only become more dangerous, leading to loss, regret, and consequence that cannot be undone. As time passed after Health Cafe returned, the emotional tension between all the characters become even stronger and more painful. The situation is no longer just about love or jealousy, it has now turned into a destructive cycle of anger, obsession, and revenge. Kathy finds herself trapped in a life that she once believed would bring her happiness. She lives in comfort at Thrushcross, Ranger, and Edgar, surrounded by beauty and luxury, but inside she feels empty and restless. Her heart is still deeply connected to Health Cafe, and no one matter how hard she tries, she cannot remove him from her thoughts of her life. Every time she feels every time see him every time she see him, all her emotions come rushing back, making it possible for her to live peacefully. Health Cafe, on the other hand, has achieved everything he once lacked: wealth, power, and status. But these things do not bring him peace. Instead, they have made his darker feelings stronger. His love for Kathy still exists, excited, but it is no longer poor. It is now mixed with bitterness, anger, and a desire to hurt these who he believes can caused him pain. Her continue to visit Kathy secretly, and their relationship become more intense and dangerous. They share private moment, speak openly about their feelings, and act as if the world around them does not exist. However, this connection is no longer, it is filled with guilt, security, and emotional pain. Edgar began to lose patience as he see his wife becoming more distant and emotionally unstable. He tries to maintain control of the situation, but he cannot compact with the deep and complicated bond between Kathy and Health Cafe. Actually, he forbids Kathy from seeing Health Cafe, hoping that distance will solve the problem. But this only makes things more wrong and dangerous. Kathy feels trapped and controlled, and her frustration growth stronger. She begins to act unpredictably, sometimes showing anger, other time deep sadness. Her mental state start to weak under the pressure of her emotions. At the same time, Health Cafe marriage to Isabella become more clearly a disaster. Isabella quickly realized that she has made a big mistake. The man she believed was mysterious and exciting is actually cruel and cold. Health Cafe does not love her and does not even try to hide it. He treats her with disrespect and sometimes even humiliations, making her life a Wuthering Heights unbearable. Isabella feels alone but she has no easy way to escape her situation. She is suffering because another example of how her health clefty pain is spreading to other around him. Meanwhile, Kathy's condition continue to decline. She feels as if she is being torn apart by two words, the world of comfort and social respect with Edgar, and the world of deep emotional connection with Heath Cliffy. She cannot fully belong to either one. This internal conflict begins to affect her physical health. She becomes weak, loses her attention, and isolates herself from others. Her emotions become unstable, and she begins to behave in ways that worry everyone around her. In a moment of extreme emotional distress, Kathy locks herself in her room and refuses to eat or speak to anyone. She becomes lost in her thoughts, thinking about her past, her choices, and the love she shares with Heathcliff. She feels regard for the decision she made and begins to question everything. Her isolation makes her condition wrong, and those around her start to fear from her life. During this time, Heathcliff continued to think about Kathy consistently, deposit this anger and desire for revenge. His love for her remains the strongest force in his life. He cannot accept the idea of losing her, yet this action have played a role in the suffering in her suffering. This creates a deep conflict with him. He wants to be close to her, but this presence also brings pain. Neely, who has been observes everything, become increasingly concerned. She understands how dangerous the situation has become and try to inverse, but her efforts are not enough to stop what is happening. She sees how Kathy is destroying herself and how health crappy influence continue to pull her deep into emotional. Actually, Kathy has reached a critical point. Her body becomes weak and her mind is filled with confusion and distress. It becomes clear that she is seriously ill. The emotional pain she has been carrying for so long is now affecting her physically in the dangerous way. Edgar becomes deeply worried and tries to care for her, but he cannot heal the damage that has already been done. At the same time, Heathcliff learns about Kathy's condition. When he realizes how serious it is, he becomes desperate. All this angry and all his anger and plans for revenge seems meaningless compared to his possibility of loss her forever. He rushed to see her, unable to stay away any longer. He rushed to see her, unable to stay away any longer. When Heathcliff and Kathy finally meet again, the moment is filled with intense emotions. They express their love, their pain, and their regret. They blame each other, but they also admit that they cannot live without one another. Their connection is as stronger as ever, but is now filled with sadness and the understanding that things cannot be changed. Kathy's condition continued to wrong, and it became clear that she may not survive. This love story that once thought them together has now led them to a triggered point. Heathcliff, who once wanted revenge, now faced the reality of losing the only person he ever truly loved. This part of the story show the full consequence of their choices. Love's love has turned into suffering, and every decision made in the past has led to be this moment. The character are no longer is in control of their lives. Instead, they are being toward carried toward a tragic ending that cannot be avoided. And as the story moves forward, the final sequence of their love, pain, and action will soon be resolved, bringing a story closer to its has heartbreaking conflation, confusion. As Kathy condition become very danger with each passing day, the atmosphere at the house turned heavy and full of sadness. The once bright and peaceful house now feels quiet and tense, as if everyone is waiting for something terrible to happen. Kathy is very weak, both physically and emotionally. She spends most of her time in bed, unable to move freely, and her mind is filled with confusion, regret, and painful memories. She often thinks about her childhood at Wuthering Heights, the time she spent with Heathcliff, and the choice she made that changed everything. She realized that even though she chose life of comfort with Edgar, her heart never left Heathcliff. She agonized, bring her both comfort and deep pain. Edgar says close to Kathy, trying his best to take care of her. She knows kindness, patience, and concern, but he feels helpless because he cannot truly reach her heart. He knows that even in her weakest moment, Kathy is thinking about Heathcliff. This true hurts him deeply, but he still loves her and wants to protect her. He tries to keep Heathcliff away, believing that his presence will only make things wrong, but he cannot completely control the situation. Meanwhile, Heathcliff becomes more restless and and is separated desperate when he hears about Kathy's serious condition. He is filled with fear and regret. All his plan of the revenge suddenly feels meaningless. The anger that once drove him replaced by a deep sense of loss. He realized that the only things that never truly mattered to him was Kathy. Without her, this life has no purpose. He realizes makes him act without making, driven only by his emotions. Determined to see her one last time, Heathcliff secretly comes to the house. When he finally enters Kathy's room, the moment is filled with intense emotions. Kathy, thought weak, become more alive when she sees him. Her eyes fill with tears, and for a moment it feels as if time has stopped. All the pain, anger, and distance between them fade away, leaving only their deep and powerful connection. They speak to each other with honesty, something they had not fully done before. Kathy expressed her emotions, telling Heathcliff that she never stopped loving him. She explained that her decision to marry Edgar was very dangerous by her desire for a better life, but it never changed how she felt about him. Heathcliff in return expressed the pain and anger, blaming her for the suffering he endured after he chose another man. He tells her that her words broken him and changed him forever. Their conversation is not peaceful, it is filled with love, anger, and sadness and truth. They blame each other, but at the same time, they cannot deny how much they need one another. Heathcliff holds Kathy tightly as if She is afraid to lose her again. Kathy deposits her weakness, responds with the same intensity. Their connection is stronger than ever, but it is also more triggered because they both know that it is too late to change the past. Kathy health condition Kathy health continued to decline during this emotional moment. The stress and intensity of the moment take a toll on her body. She become weaker and her breathing become more difficult. Health Claffey recognized Health began to realize that he may be witnessing her final moment. This thought fills him with unbearable pain. For the first time, he feels truly powerless. In her final moment, Kathy speaks softly, expressing both her love and her sorrow. She tells Heathcliff that their bond is something that cannot be broken even by death. She believes that they are connected behind this life and that how somehow they will always find each other. These words bring both comfort and sadness as they highlight the deep of their relationship and the tragedy of the situation. Soon after Kathy dies, Soon after Kathy dies, her death marks the most triggered moment in the story. The woman who was full of life, passion, and emotions is gone, leaving behind a deep emptiness. Edgar is heartbroken, losing the wise wife he loved and tried to protect, but Heathcliff's reaction is even more intense and disturbing. He refused to accept her death in a normal way. Instead of finding peace, he became cons- consumed by grief and madness. Heathcliff holds Kathy lifeless body. Heathcliff holds Kathy lifeless body. Overwhelmed by his emotions, he carries out in pain, expressing his love in a way that is both powerful and frightening. He begs her not to leave him completely, asking her script to stay with him, even if it means hunting them haunting him. He states that he cannot live in a world where she does not exist, and he would rather be in a pain than forget her. The moment shows how deeply this love has turned into absence. After Kathy's death, nothing feels the same. The connection that one, the connection that once brought life and energy with Wuthering Heights and the other home is gone, leaving behind silence and sorrow. Heathcliff does not find closure or peace. Instead, this grief transform into something darker. He become even more distant, cold, and driven by emotions that he cannot control. After the same time, Isabella managed to escape from Wuthering Heights, unable to and ensure Heathcliff currently any longer. She leaves and start a new life away from him. Her departs shows that not everyone is willing to remain trapped in pain. However, her experience leave her badly affected, and she carries the memory of her suffering with her. Kathy death also leave behind another important change. Before her passing, she gives birth to a child, a daughter who carries her name and her script. This child represents a new beginning but also a continuation of the past. She grows up in a world shaped by the action and emotions of these who come before her. Heathcliff, however, is unable to move forward. Instead of letting go, Instead of letting go, he holds on to Kathy's memory with intense possession. He often returns to places where they once spent time together, lost in these thoughts. He speaks of her as if she is still pre- present, unable to accept that she is truly gone. His grief isolates him from others and pushes him deeply into his dark world. This part of the story shows the fully tragedy of Kathy and Heathcliff's love. What's begun as a strong and beautiful connection has ended in loss and suffering. Their inabilities to understand each other at the right time, combined with pride and social pressure, lead them to a fate that could not be avoided. Kathy's death does not bring an end to the story. Instead, it marks the beginning of the new phase where the sequence of the past continue to affect the future. Heathcliff's journey is not over. His action will continue to shape the lives of those around him. The love between Kathy and Heathcliff may have been powerful, but it was also disturbed. It thoughts them together, but it also tore them apart. And even after that, its impact remain influencing comes next. Everything that comes next. Health Cleffy broken with many time after Kathy death. Life does not return to normal for anyone. Instead, everything feels heavy, quieter, and filled with a lasting sense of sadness. At the Thrush house, Edgar Layton tried to move forward, but it is not easy for him. He has lost he has lost the woman he loved and even thought their marriage was not perfect. He truly cared for Kathy and wanted to give her a peaceful life. Now he focused all this attention on their child. A young girl named Catherine, often called Kathy like her mother. Edgar became a protective and gentle father. He raised her in a calm and comfortable environment, trying to keep them away from the pain and darkness that destroy her mother life. He wants her to grow up in connects, kind and safe from the influence of Wuthering Heights and the Health Cafe. Meanwhile, at the Wuthering Heights Health Cafe, life become even darker. Kathy death Kathy death does not bring him peace. Instead it deepens this absence and strengthens this desire for control and revenge. He cannot forget her. He cannot forget her, and he does not want to. He often thinks about her, talks about her, and even imagines her presence around him. His love has now completely turned into absence, and it affects everything he does. He becomes more cold, more distant, and more cruel toward others. It is as if he has lost the part of himself that could feel kindness. At the same time, the consequence of his past action continue to unfold. Isabella, who escaped from him, gives birth to a son named Leighton Heathcliff. Leit- Birth to son named Leighton Heathcliff. This child grow up away from Heathcliff, rise in a different environment, but she is still connected to him by blood. Years later, when Isabella become lie years become Years later, when Isabella becomes ill and dies, The young boy is sent back to his father. Heathcliff takes him in, but not out of love or care. Instead, he sees the boy as a part of his plan. Instead, he sees the boy as the part of his plan. Leighton is weak, sickly, and very different from the father. He lacks strength and confidence, and he depends on others for support. Heathcliff does not treat him with kindness. Instead, he uses him as a tool to gain more control over Threscross Longer and Edgar family. A young Kathy grow up. She become a bright and beautiful girl. She has her mother, but it mother sins of face angle, but is raised in a more controlled and protected environment. Edgar keeps her away from Wuthering Heights and never speaks much about the past. He wants to protect her from the pain to destroy her mother, so he limits her world to safety of the house. However, Kathy naturally curiosity leads to her explore behind that she is allowed. She wants to understand the world outside, and it is not filled with living in a quiet and limited life. One day, Kathy secretly traveled toward Wuthering Heights, not fully understanding its dark history. When she when she arrives, she meets the people living there, including Heathcliff and the son Leighton. This meeting became an important turning point. Heathcliff immediately recognizes an opportunity. When he sees young Kathy, he is reminded of her mother, and at the same time, he seems a chance to continue his plan. He began to think about how he can use her to gain control over Edgar properly and complete his revenge. Kathy began young and incorrect. He does not fully understand the danger. She meets Lytton and feels more comfortable from him because she appears weak and weak. Lytton, under her father's influence, began to develop a connection with her. However, this connection is not natural or healthy. Heathcliff pushes Lytton to from a relationship with Kathy, not out of genius feeling but as a part of his large plan. He wants them to grow close so that he can later force a marriage between them. Back at Threscross House, Edgar is unaware of the full situation at first, but when he learns that Kathy has been visiting Wuthering Heights, he becomes worried and upset. He knows Heathcliff's nature and understanding that nothing good can come from this connection. He tried to stop Kathy from going there again, but her curiosity and growing feeling make it difficult for her to listen completely. As time passed, Kathy and Lithon continue to meeting, sometimes secretly. Kathy believes she is helping him, thinking that he is lonely and needs support. Lithon, however, is caught between his own weakness and his father's control. He does not have the strength to stand against Heathcliff, so he follows the instruction even when it makes him uncomfortable. Heathcliff's plans slowly become clear. He wants Kathy to marry Leighton so that he can gain control over her. On the other hand, Thrushcross House after Edgar's death, the plan shows how far he has gone from the boy who once loved deeply. These actions are now driven by revenge and a desire of power, even if it means manipulation, inact people. Meanwhile, Edgar's health began to weaken as he grown older. This adds to Heathcliff's plan. He knows that time is limited and he pushes harder to make sure this plan succeeds. Kathy becomes more emotionally involved, not fully understanding the situation she is trapped in. This part of the story shows how the target of the past continue into the next generation. The love and pain of Kathy and Heathcliff does not end with them. Instead, instead they shape the lives of their children, pulling them into a cycle of control, manipulation, and emotional struggle. Young Kathy, who was made to live a peaceful life, now finds herself connected to the very world her father tried to protect her from. Heathcliff, unable to let go of the past, continue to act in a way that bringing suffering together to others. His obsession with Kathy and his desire for revenge keep him trapped in a life without peace. The story now moves forward with a new generation, but the same emotions, love, pain, control, and loss continue to guide the character toward another difficult and emotional path. The consequence of part action are still unfolding, and the final come out is yet to be seen. As the story moves forward, Heathcliff's plan begins to take its most serious and dangerous form. He is no longer acting with passion and subtlety. Instead, he becomes more direct and forceful in his action. This goal is now very clear. He wants complete control over both Wuthering Heights and the other Thorncross House, and he is willing to use anyone to achieve it. Young Kathy, who once lived a protected and peaceful life with her father Edgar, now finds herself deeply involved in a situation he does not fully understand. Her marriage with Lytton Heathcliff continue, and although she believes she is helping a weak and lonely boy, she has slowly begun drawn into a trap created by Heathcliff. Lytton, under consist pressure from his father, become more dependent on Kathy. He writes letter to her asking her to visit him and spend time with him. These letters often sound emotional and making Kathy feel responsible for her happiness. She believes that he truly cares of her, but in reality, Lytton is too weak to act on his own feeling. He follows Heathcliff's father instruction, because he is afraid of him. Heathcliff uses Lytton's weakness to control the situation, pushing him to keep Kathy close and emotionally attracted. At the same time, Edgar's health continue to decline is very dangerous. He become weaker with each passing day, and it become clear that he may not live much longer. Kathy is deeply worried about her father and wants to spend time with him, but she is also being pulled toward Wuthering Heights by Layton's request. This creates a painful conflict inside her. She feels torn between her duty to her father and her desire to help Layton. Heathcliff takes advantage of this situation, knowing that Kathy's emotions make her dangerous to control him. One day, Kathy decides to visit Layton again, hoping to comfort, hoping to comfort him. However, this visit turns into a turning point in the story. When she arrives at the Wuthering House, he is not allowed to leave. Heathcliff reveals this true intention and makes it clear that she is now under his control. Kathy is shocked and more dangerous act. She realized that she has been tripped, but it is too late to escape easily. Heathcliff's plan is now in a motion and he refused to let anything stop him. Heathcliff forced Kathy to stay at Wuthering Heights and pressures her to marry Lytton. Kathy strongly resists at first. She is angry and confused. She does not understand why Heathcliff is being so cruel. She tries to agree with him, but he does not listen. His mind is completely focused on his goal. He believes that by forcing this marriage, he will finally gain control over everything that once belonged to Edgar. Lytton deposed being part of the plan is not stronger enough to stand up to his father or to truly support Kathy. He is sick, weak, and afraid. I thought he shows he shows moment of concern for Kathy. He ultimately follows Heathcliff's orders. This makes Kathy feels destroyed and alone. She begins to lose trust in him, realizing that she is not the person she thought he was. Meanwhile, Edgar waits for Kathy at Thrushcross House, unaware of what has happened. He grows more serious as she does not return. His health is already more dangerous away. The stress of her absence make it worry. He longs to see his daughter one last time, but Heathcliff's action keep them apart. As the situation becomes more dangerous, Kathy is left with very few choice. She knows that her father is dying, dying and wants to be with him, but Heathcliff makes it clear that she will not be allowed to leave unless she agrees to marry Lytton. The emotional pressure forces Kathy into a painful decision. She agrees to the marriage not out of love but out of desperation of fear. The marriage between Kathy and Lytton is not a happy or meaningful event. It is cold, forced, and filled with sadness. There is no joy, no celebration, no sense of hope. Instead, it feels like a final step in Heathcliff's plan of revenge. Thought this marriage is gained legal control over Thrushcross House, bringing him closer to his goal of the total power. After the marriage, Kathy is finally allowed to return to her father. However, it is too late. Edgar is on this deathbed. Edgar is on his deathbed, and their Reno is short and filled with sorrow. Kathy is heartbroken, realizing that she was not able to be with her father when he needed her the most. Edgar dies soon as after, leaving her alone in a world that has become rushed and unforgiving. With Edgar death and Kathy forced marriage, Heathcliff achieved that he set out to do. He now has control over both Wuthering Heights and Thrushcross House. However, the victory does not bring him happiness. Instead, it leaves him with emptiness and a life filled with darkness. This aim is complete, but it has come at the cost of many lives and much suffering. Kathy now trapped is Kathy now trapped in a loveless marriage, being to experience the same kind of pain that her mother once left. She lives in a world controlled by Heathcliff, where kindness and worth are rare. She script once full of life and curiosity is now weighted down by sadness and regret. Lytton's health continued to Lytton's health continued to decline, and it became clear that he will not live alone. His weakness, both physical and emotional, makes him unable to handle the situation. Kathy is left to care of him. even thought their relationship is not built on true love. This adds to the suffering and makes her feel even more trapped. This part of the story show the full power of Heathcliff's revenge. He has used multiple lives, fear, and control to achieve his goal, but the result is not stratification or peace. Instead, it creates more pain and continue to cycle of suffering. The next stage of the story will reveal what happening after Heathcliff's victory and whether any whether any of the character can find peace after everything they have endured. After Heathcliff finally gained control over both Wuthering Heights and the Thrush Cross House, once might accept that he would feel stratified as if this long journey of pain and revenge has revenge has reached its goal. However, its reality is very different. Instead of peace, Heathcliff feels empty. The revenge that once gave him purpose no longer bring him any comfort. The people he wants to hurt has already suffered, and the power he now holds does not fill the deep emotional void inside him. His thought return again and again to Kathy, the only person he ever truly loved. Even after her death, she remains the center of his life, and he cannot escape her memory. At Wuthering Heights, the atmosphere becomes even darker under Heathcliff's control. Kathy, now married to Lytton, lives in a place what feels like a prison. She has lost her father, her freedom, and the happy life and she once now Liston health continue to weaken, and he becomes more depended on her, but their relationship does not bring comfort. There is no real love between them, only dangerous and sadness. Kathy feels alone, trapped in a life she did not choose. Soon Lytton's died due to his poor health. This death does not bring relief, but it's changed Kathy's situation once again. As his window, she is now fully under Heathcliff's control. She has no power, no property, and no escape. Heathcliff tried her harshly, and because she has done anything wrong, but because she reminds him of the past of Kathy of reminds him of the past of Kathy of love, of lost love, and of everything he can never have again. His anger and grief continue to shape this action even when there is no clear reason left for revenge. At the same time, another important character began to play a big role. Herton Earnshaw, the son of the Earnshaw family. Herton, Heraton has grown up at a Wuthering House under difficult conditions. Heathcliff has raised him in a rough and unkind way, denying him education and treating him harshly. Has Heathcliff himself was once tra- treated. Her tone is strong and heartbreaking, but he lacks knowledge and confidence. He lives in the same house as Kathy, but at first there is distance and the misunderstanding between them. Kathy, who has been raised in a more educated and gentle environment, initially looks down on her tone because of his rough behavior and lack of earning. However, as the time passes, she begins to see him in true nature. She realizes that he is not a bad person, but someone who has suffered because of his way he was raised. Slowly, her attitude changed, and she began to treat him with kindness. Hatton is return start to develop feeling for Kathy. He admires her intelligence and strength, even thought he sometimes feels embarrassed by his own lack of education. Kathy, seeing his affect and honesty, begin to care for him as well. Their relationship develops slowly based on understanding, patience, and manual respect. Every different from intense and destructive love between the first Kathy and the health Claffy. As Kathy and her tone grow closer, sometime importance began to change at Wuthering Heights for the first time in a long while. There is a small sense of hope. Their connection represents a new beginning, once that is not based on revenge or pain but on healing and growth. Kathy even start to teach Hartun how to read and learn, helping him improve herself and gain confidence. Heathcliff noticed this change, but instead of stopping at it, he becomes strangely distant. This interest is controlling other began to fade. He spends more time alone, lost in his thoughts. He walks toward the moors, often speaking as if Kathy is still with him. It becomes clear that he is no longer focused on the present. This mind is trapped in the past, in memories of the love he lost. As day pass, health Claffy behavior become more unusual. He stopped eating regularly, sleeping very little, and showed little interest in the world around him. He, he no longer cares about wealth, property, or power. The revenge that once find his life on longer matter to him. All that remain in his longing to be returned with Kathy. Actually, health Claffy health began to fail. His body became weak, but he does not seem to be care. He continued to wander, often looking as if he is searching for something or someone. These those around him begin to see that his life is coming to an end. But there is something almost peaceful in this final days. Health Claffy health get down a dangerous stage, as if he is finally letting go of the anger that controlled him for a long. One day Health Cliff is found dead. His death is quiet and almost mysterious. He is discovered in a state that suggests he has finally found the peace he could not find in life. Some believe that he did, thinking of Kathy finally renewed with her in separate. His long journey of pain, love, and revenge comes to an end. After Heathcliff's death, life at Wuthering Heights began to change. Without his dark influence, the atmosphere became lighter. Kathy and her tone continued to grow closer, and their relationship became stronger. They plan to leave Wuthering Heights and move to Threscross, starting a new life together. Their decision represents hope and renewal. Unlike the previous generation, they choose understanding over pride, kindness over clarity, and love over control. They break the cycle of pain that has affected both families for a long. In the end, the story of Wuthering Heights is not just about tragedy but also about the consequence of choice and the responsibility of change. The love between Kathy and Heathcliff was powerful but destructive, leading to suffering and loss. Over the next generation showed that it is possible to create different future, one built on composition and growth. The wind Winds still blow across the morass and Wuthering Heights still stand, but the story it holds in now one of the both sorrow and hope, a reminder that even the deepest pain can actually lead to peace. The story of Wuthering Heights teaches us many deep and powerful lessons about love, choice, pride, and the consequence of our action. At the center of the story is the relationship between Kathy and Heathcliff, which shows what love can be very strong, but it can also become dangerous if it is with if it is fixed with anger and misunderstanding. One of the biggest moral of the story is that true love needs honesty and care communication. Kathy and Heathcliff loved each other deeply, but they failed to express their feelings properly at the right time. Because of this small misunderstanding turned into big problem. Heathcliff heard only part of Kathy's words and believed that she was ashamed of him, while Kathy believed that she could be choose comfort and still keep his love. This shows that when people do not speak honestly and clearly apart clearly, even the strongest relationship can be break apart. Another important moral is that pride and social status can destroy happiness. Kathy chose to marry Edgar not because she loved him more, but because she wanted a better life and a higher position in society. She thought that wealth and respect would make her happy, but instead her decision caused pain of herself and not for Heathcliff. This teaches us that choosing material things over true feelings can lead to be regret. The story also shows how revenge can destroy a personal life. Heathcliff spent many years planning revenge against these who hurt him, and all thought he succeeded in gaining power and control. He never found peace. His anger consumed him and turned him into a cold and cruel person. This teaches us that holding into anger and trying to hurt others does not heal our pain. It only makes it dangerous. Forgiveness, even thought it is difficult, is a better path because it allows a person to move forward and find peace. Another moral of the story is that our action do not only affect us about also the people around us, especially the next generation. The pain and mistake of Kathy and Heathcliff did not end with them. Their choices affected their children and creates more suffering. This shows that our decisions can have long lasting effects, and we must be careful about how we want try treat others. At the same time, the story also gives a message of hope. Thought the younger generation, Kathy and her tune show what it is possible to change, to learn from the past, and to build a better future. To build a better future. Their relationship is based on understanding, patience, and kindness, which is very different from the destructive love of the older generation. This teaches us that no matter how much pain exists in the past, people can choose a better path if they are willing to grow and forgive. Another lesson from the story is about emotional control. Kathy and Heathcliff allowed their emotions to control their actions, which lead to suffering and tragedy. They acted out of anger, jealousy, and pride instead of thinking calming. This shows that strong emotions are natural, but we must learn to manage them or they can lead to harmful decisions. The story also teaches us about self worth and respect. Heathcliff pain was partly caused by how society partly caused by how society treated him as less valuable of his background. This made him feel insecure and anger. It reminds us that every it reminds us that every it reminds us that every person deserves respect, and judging people based on status or wealth or create deep emotional wounds. Another important moral is that absence is not the same as love. Heathcliff love for Kathy Heathcliff love for Kathy become on intense that it turned into absence. He could not let go even after her death, and this prevented him from living a peaceful life. True love should bring growth, peace, and happiness, do not destruction and suffering. The story also show that time or missed opportunities cannot be reversed. Kathy and Heathcliff had many chances to be honest with each other and make better choice, but they do not take him. In the end, they were left with regard. This teaches us that we should value the present and express our true feeling before it is too late. Finally, the story reminds us that life is shaped by the choice we can make. Every decision, big or small, can change the direction of our life. Kathy choice to marry Edgar Heathcliff choose to seek revenge, and the younger Kathy choose to be kind to her tune. All show how different decisions lead to be different outcome. It concludes the moral of the Wuthering Heights is that love should be honest and balanced. Pride and revenge lead to destruction, and forgiveness and understanding can create a better future. It is a powerful reminder that human emotions are strong, but they must be guided by winds and kindness to avoid tragedy. Wuthering Heights 2026 is a film that tries to bring a classic and emotional love story to the modern audience while still keeping its original dark and intense tone. And overall, it delivers a powerful experience, especially for viewers who enjoy deeply emotional dramas rather than past paced entertainment to story piece entertainment. The story of the movie is its strongest point because it is built on a timeless theme of love, pain, and classic difference and revenge. And the film takes its time to explore these emotions in detail. The narrative moves slowly but with purpose, allow the audience to fully understand the character and their inner struggles, which makes the story feel heavy and meaningful rather than rushed or super fictional. Some viewers who prefer action or quick storytelling might find the piece a bit slow, but for those who enjoy character driven stories, the slow pacing actually becomes the strongest because it gives actually become a strongest because it gives even every emotion time to grow and feel real. The screenplay focused deeply on the relationship between Kathy and Heathcliff, showing how their lives changed over the time from in-connect friendship to intense and destructive absence. And this transformation is shown in a very natural and believable way. The dialogue are simple but emotionally strong, often carrying deep meaning without being overly complicated, which helps the audience connect with the character more easily. When it come to performance, the film does a very good job. as the actress brings life to complex character with strong emotional deep. The actor playing Cafe deliver a powerful performance showing a wide range of emotions from silence pain to intense anger and deep absence. And this screen presence make the character feel both sympathetic and fright-tending. At the same time, Kathy character is also portrayed very well, showing the transformation from a free scripted girl into a conflicted woman turned between love and social acceptations, and the actors manage to express strength and emotional confusion in a very natural way. The chemistry between the two leads is one of the highlights of the film because it feels real and intense, making their relationship believable and emotionally impact. Edgar Leeton's character provide a contrast and to Health Cafe, representing calmness, stability, and social orders, and the actor play this role with subtlety and control. Isabella character adds another layer to the story, showing how attraction and the mindset can lead to be suffering, and her performance capture both in concern and regard. Supporting character like Neela and her tone also contribute meaningful to the story, making the world of the film feel complete and realistic. The director of the film is another strong asset because it successfully captured the dark and emotional tone of the story. The director focused more on atmosphere and character emotions rather than action, which helps create a deep and impressive experience. The use of silence, close up, short, and slow camera movement allows the audience to feel the emotions of the character more closely. The film does not try to flash or overly dramatic in the modern way. Instead, it stayed true to its classic roots while still making it accessible to far today viewers. The transition between scene are smooth and the storytelling feel consist from beginning to end. The visual and cinematography of the movie are especially impressive. The film beautifully captures the wild and lonely landscape of the morass, using natural lights and wide shots to create a scene of isolation and emotional intensity. The weather, especially that wind and dark seas, plays an important role in setting the mood, almost becoming a character itself. The contrast between Wuthering Heights and the Thrash Cross House is showing clarity thought visual design, with Wuthering Heights appears dark, rough, and on the other hand, Thrash Cross looks bright, warm, and beautiful. The visual contrast helps the audience understand the difference between the two worlds without needing too much explanation. The costumes and the set design also add more intense in the film, reflecting the time period and the social status of the character. The music and the background score of the film are stable but very effective. Instead of using loud and dramatic music, the film uses soft emotional tones that support the scene without overpowering them. The music enhances the feeling of the sadness, longing, and tension, especially during key emotional moment in some scenes. The absence of music is usually effectively to create silence and focus on the character emotional, which makes those moments are more powerful. The overall sound design, including natural sounds like winds and footsteps, adds to the impressive experience. In terms of VFX, the film does not really heavy of visual effects as it is a character drive drama. However, the film limited use of VFX is done well, mainly to enhance the environment and maintain consistency in the visual tone. The focus remain on realism, which suits the story perfectly. The film does not need heavy visual effects because its strength lies in the storytelling and performance. One of the most important aspects of the movie is its emotional impact. It is not a light of easy film to watch. The story is filled with pain, conflict, and target in moments that can leave the audience feeling heavy and thoughtful. The film explored themes like unfulfilled love, social pressure, revenge, and the consequence of choice in a very deep way. It does not try to provide a simple answer or a heavy ending. Instead it represents a realistic and sometimes uncomfortable looks at but human emotions. This makes the movie more meaningful but also less stable for viewers who are looking for a simple environment. Another important point is that the film requires patience. It is not a movie that you can watch casually while doing something else. It demands attention and emotional involvement. The slow pace and deep storytelling mean that viewers need to stay focused to fully understand and appreciates the film. However, for those who are willing to invest their time and attention, the movie offers a rewarding experience overall. Overall, Wuthering Heights 2026 is a strong and emotional, powerful film true that stay true to its classic roots while offering a fresh cinematic experience. It may not be for everyone, especially those who prefer fast-paced and action-pocket movies, but for viewers who enjoy deep character-driven stories, it is definitely worth watching. The performance, visual, music, and storytelling all comes together to create a memorable and impactful film. It is a movie that stay with you even after its ends, making you think about love, choice, and the consequence of human emotions. In simple words, it is a film that is not just watched but felt, and that is what makes it special. Wuthering Heights 2026 had an interesting journey when it came to the box office performance and overall reception because even though the film received mixed reviews from critics, it still managed to perform well financially and gained strong attention from audience around the world. The movie was released in major markets like the United States and the United Kingdom, and it opens with a decent start at the box office, especially considering that it is a slow emotional drama rather than a fast-paced comical films. It it comical film. In its opening weekend, the film attracted a large number of viewers who were already familiar with the classic story or were curious to see a new adaptation of such a famous novel. The marketing of the movie played an important role in this as the trailer and promotional highlight as the trailer and promotions highlighted the intense love story, strong performance, and beautiful visual, which helped create interest among both young audience and fans of classic. As the day went on, the film country continued to earn steadily even though it faced competition from other big releases at the same time. Its total worldwide collection reached around $241 million, which is considered a strong performance for a film of this genre, and it has even become one of the highest grossing film of the year, showing that there is still a strong audience for emotional and character driven stories. The movie performed particularly well in the international market, where the audience often appreciate romantic and dramatic storytelling. It in countries outside the United States, the film found a steady and loyal audience, especially amongst viewers who enjoy literary adaptation. In the United Kingdom, where the original story has a strong cultural connection, the film attracted a significant number of viewers, many of whose were interested in seeing how the story was represented on a big screen. Similar in other regions, the film benefited from word of mouth promotion as viewers who connected with the emotion deep of the story recommended to it other. This helped the film maintain the performance even after the initial release period. When it came to a national reception, the film received mixed reviews from critics, meaning that same critics appreciated to whole other had certain concern. On one hand, many criticized the film for its strong performance, emotion, deep and beautiful cinematography. They appreciated how the movie stayed true to the dark and intense tone of the original story and how it explored complex human emotions in a realistic way. Critics also highlighted the chemistry between the lead actor and the way the film captured the atmosphere of the most create a visual, rich and impressive experience. On the other hand, some critics felt that the pacing of the film was not too slow and that it might not appeal to a wider audience looking for more engaging or fast moving storytelling. A few viewers also meditated that the film heavy emotional tone could feel overwhelming at times, making it less accessible for casual viewers. Review generated platforms such as Return Tomatoes and Metacritic reflected this mixed response. On Return Tomatoes, the film received a moderate approval rating, showing that while a good number of critics like the film, there was also a significant portion who had reservation because the audience score, however, was often slightly higher, indicating that general reviews are more positive about the film compared to criticize on Metacritic. The film received an average score, which again showed that the critical response was balanced between praise and criticism. These scores shows that the film was not universally loved, but it was respected for its artist qualities. Audience reception played a very important role in the success of the movie. While critics were divided, many viewers connected deeply with the story and its emotional theme. Some audience appreciate the slow pace because it allowed them to fully experience and character emotions, while others found it challenging but still meaningful. Cinema score, which ensured audience reaction, gave the film a moderate grade, including that while it was not a not a crowd-pleasing blockbuster, it still left a positive impression on a large portion of viewers. The film emotional impact and strong performance helped it gain a loyal audience, even if it was not universal popular. Another important factor in the film box office success was its long-term performance. Unlike some movies that earn most of their money in the opening weekend and then quickly drop. Wuthering Heights 2026 showed steady earning over time. This type of performance is often seen in films that rely on word of mouth and audience attraction rather than immediate hype. As more people heard about the film and its emotional storytelling, they come interested in watching it. which helped maintain the box office number. The film's success also highlights the continued relevance of classic stories in modern cinema, even though it is based on an older novel. The theme of love, classic, different, and emotional conflict are still relatable today audience. This connection helped the film attract viewers from different age groups and backgrounds. It also shows what not all successful films need to be action packed or filled with special effect. After effect, strong storytelling and emotional deep can also brings audience to theater. In terms of return of investment, the film can be considered successful because it managed to earn significantly more than its production budget. While exit budget details may vary, the overall box office performance indicate that the film was profitable. This is an important achievement for a drama film, as such films often face challenge in attracting large audience compared to big budget of fantasy movie. Overall, the reception of box office performance of Wuthering Heights 2026 can be described as a mix of critical debate and audience acceptation. It may not have been a perfect film in the eyes of critics, but it succeeded in connecting with viewers and delivering a strong financial performance. Its success showed that there is still a place in modern cinema of emotional, character driven stories that focus on a human relationship and inner struggle. The film journey at the box office and its mixed but meaningful reception make it an interesting example of how a movie can succeed even without universal, as long as it offers something genius and emotionally powerful to its audience. The development of the Wuthering Heights 2026 began many years before the film actually reached the big screen, because adapting a classic novel like this is never a simple task. The original story, written by Emily, is now for its deep emotions, dark tone, and complex characters, so the filmmaker had to think carefully about how to bring this story to modern audience while still respecting its original sense. In the early stage of the development, the production and creative teams spent a lot of time discussing the version of the film. They wanted to create a version that felt both authentic and fresh, something that could connect with younger viewers but still stratify fans of original novel. One of the biggest challenges during development was deciding how much of original story to include and how to in represent it in a cinematic way. The novel is very detailed and cover many emotional layers, so the writers had to be carefully select which parts of focus on and how to structure the story of the film format. This process took a long time because the team want to make sure that the emotional core of the story, especially the relationship between Kathy and Heathcliff, remains strong and clear. The screenplay one thought several draft before reaching its final version. In the early draft, the story was more traditional and closely followed the original timeline, but later version experimented with piecing dialogue and character focus to make the film more engaging and a modern audience. The writer worked on simplifying some parts of the story while still keeping in its deep. They also focused on making the character feel real and relatable, even though the story is set in the past. Dialogues was carefully written to sound natural but still reflect the time period. The goal was to avoid making the film feels too old fashioned while still maintaining the historical setting. At the same time, the producer began planning to overall production. They needed to decide on a budget, location, and creative team signed the film relief heavily on atmosphere emotions rather than action, and focus was placed a strong performance, beautiful cinema photography, and the detailed set design. The budget was planned carefully to ensure that the film could achieve a high visual quality without unnecessary spending a large scale effect. This type of film requires investment in locations, costumes, and skilled actor rather than expensive visual effects. Choosing the director was one of the most important decisions during development. The filmmaker wanted someone who understands emotional storytelling and could handle a slow character-driven narrative. The director needed to be able to create a strong atmosphere and guide the actor to deliver powerful performance. Once the director was selected, the project began to move forward more quickly. The directors worked closely with the writer to finalize the script and develop a clear version of the film tone and style and pacing. Another key part of the development was visual planning. Before filming began, the team create storyboards and visual reference to plan how the film would look. They studies the landscape of the English countryside, especially the morass, because these locations play a very important role in the story. The environment is not just a background; it reflects it reflects the emotions of the character. The wild winds, dark seas, and open space represent the intensity and aloneness of the story. The filmmaker wanted to capture the feeling as nature as possible. The production design team also started working early to design the two main locations, Wuthering Heights and the Thros Cross Grange. These two houses needed to look very different from each other because they represent two different worlds. Wuthering Heights was designed to feel rough, dark, and isolated, showing the harsh life and emotional struggle of its character. In construct, other house was designed to look warm and acclimate and comfortable, representing wealth, order, and social status. Very detail from curtains to lighting was carefully planned to reflect these differences. Customized design was another important part of the development since the story take place in the past. The customs needs to be historical actors whiling help to define the character. Kathy's customs change over the time to show her transformation from a wild girl to a refined lady. Heathcliff appears also changed significantly, especially after his return, reflect his journey from a poor boy to wealthy and powerful man. These visual change help the audience understand the character without needing too much explanation. The music of the film also planned during the development stage. The filmmaker wanted a soundtrack that could support the emotional tone of the story without being too disturbing. They decided to use soft atmospheric music. The world blamed with the visual and enhanced the mood. The composer began worked on early themes based on the script and the director vision, creating most interesting that could represent the character and their relationship. Another important aspect of development was deciding the overall tone of the film. The team agreed that the film should not be early romantic in a traditional scene, but rather realistic and sometimes uncomfortable. The love story between Kathy and Heathcliff is not simple or happy, but and the film needed to be reflect that the decisions influenced that every part of the production from the acting style to camera work. Scheduling and planning also played a major role. The production team had to be decide when and where the film, taking into account weathering condition, actor visibility, and budget constraints. Since the film relies heavily on natural landscape, timing was very important. The team wanted to capture different scenes and different seasons and weather condition to add realism to the story. By the time the development stage was complete, the film had a clear version in finalized script and a strong creative team ready to bring the story to life. This careful planning helped ensure that the production would run smoothly and that the final film would stay true to its emotional and realistic goals. After the development stage was completed and the script was finalized, the production of Wuthering Heights 2026 moved into one of the most important phase, which was casting and filming. Casting played a very crucial role in the film because the entire story depends heavily on the emotions and the performance of the character, especially Kathy and Heathcliff. The filmmaker needs actors who would express deep and complex feeling in a natural and believable way. During the casting process, many actors was considered for the main role. The team looking for people who not only had strong acting skill but also had the right screen presence and the chemistry with each other. For the role of Heath Cleffy, the filmmaker wanted someone who could show both abilities and intensity. Heath Cleffy is a character who goes through a major transformation from a quiet and hurt boy to powerful and emotionally complex man. So the actor had to be able to handle the different layers from personalities. After careful selection, the chosen actor brought a strong and powerful energy to the role, making Heathcliff both sympathetic and intimidating at the same time. For Kathy characters, the filmmaker needs an actress who could show a wide range of emotions from playing and free scripted behave, behaves in her youth to deep emotional conflict and sadness in her late life. Kathy is not simple character. She is going she is strong, emotional, and sometimes unpredictable, so the actor had to be capture all these qualities. The chemistry between Kathy and Heathcliff was especially impacted, and the filmmaker contributed screen tests to make sure that their connection feel real. This chemistry become one of the highlights of the film as it made their relationship believable and emotionally impactful. The supporting cast was also selected with great care. The actors play Edgar Litton need to represent calmness, stability, and refinement, which is very different from Heathcliff intense responsibility. This contrast help the audience understand Kathy's internal confidence. Isabella role requires someone who could show inconscience at first and later express fear and regret. The casting of Neela and the other supporting character was also important because they help move the story forward and provide different perspective on the main event. Overall, the casting process focus on building a strong ensemble ensemble where every actor contributes to the emotional depth of the story. Once the casting was complete, the film moved into the filming stage. Filming took place mainly in natural locations to capture the true atmosphere of story. The production team chose real landscape that matched the matched the disruption of the morass, which wind, open space, strong winds, and changing weathering condition. These locations were not fully visual beautiful but also added authenticity to the film. Shooting in real environment, however, come with challenges. The weather was unpredictable, and the team often had to be wait for the right conditions to shoot the contained scene. Rain, winds, and cold temperature made filming difficult at times, but they also helped create a natural and realistic look that the filmmaker wanted. The director focused on creating an immersive experience by using practical set sitting instead of replying an artificial set of heavy visual effect. Wuthering Heights itself was either filmed in a real old house or carefully designed to look like one, with attention to small detail like lighting and texture. The goal was to make the audience feel as if they were truly inside the world. Thrash Cross, on the other hand, was filmed and designed to look more engaging and refined, which lighter brighter lighting and more structured piece. This contrast between two locations was maintained throughout filming to visual represent the different in lifestyle emotions. Cinema photography played a major role in shaping the look and feel of the hymn. The cinema photography worked closely with the director to create a visual style that matched the emotional tone of the story. They used natural lighting as such as possible to give the film a realistic and organic look instead of bright and colorful visual. The film often use mute tones, shadows, and soft light to create a sense of mood and deep. Wide shoots of the landscape were used to show the isolation of the character, while in close-up shoots were used to capture their emotions in detail. The cameraman movement were generally slow and controlled, allowing the audience to focus on the character and the feeling rather than fast action film. One of the key techniques used in the cinema photography was the contrast between opening scene and confidence interaction. The wind's open moors represents freedom but also alone lines, while the interiors of the house often feel closed and tense, reflecting the emotional struggles of the character. The use of weather, especially winds and storm, was also important. These elements were not just part of the background, they were used to reflect the emotional state of the character, making the environment feel alive and connected to the story. On the other hand, we get a positive response as so the so this is the end of our video. Was Wuthering Heights. In this video, we talk about the full story from beginning to end, and we explain it step by step so you can clearly understand the journey of all the character. We also shared the main message and the moral of the story, and we discussed what we can learn from the choice, love, and mistake of the character. After that, we gave a full movie review where we talked about the acting, story, visual, music, and overall experience of the film. So you can decide if this movie is for you or not. We also explained the box office performance and how the movie was received by critics and audience, and what people liked and what they did not like about it. Then we went into the development and production of the film, including how the movie was planned and how casting was done, how filming happened in real locations, and how editing, music, and post production helped create the final version that we see on screen. The main purpose of the video was to give you a complete and clear understanding of the movie in one place, so you can do not miss any important detail. This video is made for education and entertainment, and to help you understand the story and the film in a better way. Some clips, images, and short scenes used in the video are only for explanation, review, and education purpose. All rights to all rights belong to their original owners, and we do not claim viewership of any of that content. Everything is used under fair of use commentary and learning. If you enjoy the video, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel of more videos like this. Your support really helps us grow and bringing more content for you. Also tell us in the comments which movie you want next and what type of video you like more. Full story explanation, review, and detailed breakdown. Thank you so much for watching till the end, and we hope you enjoy the video. See you in the next video.